Alright, this is what I'm talking about today. It's my sewage treatment plant. I installed this back in the 80s and it's up on a mountain. And putting a septic system on the side of a hill, if you've ever tried to do that, is extremely expensive. So this was the most economical opportunity by far. It's a 1,000-gallon tank. It's 3 chambers. It's got underneath this box right here is where the pipe comes in straight from the house. The solids settle out there, and then water comes into this second tank right here where it's aerated, and then that water flows out over here. It goes to a chlorinator, and then it just comes out onto the ground as basically it comes out as clear water. What this video is about is I used to have an aerator that went down in this hole right here, and they're pretty expensive. It sits in a bad environment. Here's what it looks like. Here's the one that came out of there. You can see it is completely destroyed. Even the shaft is broken off of it. It's a stainless steel shaft. But the environment in there is just really corrosive and moist all the time. I just thought having one that sits outside of the tank would have a better chance of survival. Okay, so as you can see, that one had a rough life. So what I decided to do this time was to put one that's above ground. These are made for this purpose. One of the things about this is it uses about 1/4 of the electricity of the other one. So this one will cost me about $6 a month to run, where the other one was going to cost me about 30 bucks. So let me move in a little closer and show you. So this is just a valve box, and I'll list this in the description. I'll try to list all these parts in the description in case you're interested in something like this. You can also use these as an aerator for a pond or something like that. But this is basically just an air pump. So you provide it with electricity. It's sitting in this valve box. This box can supposedly sit out in the weather, but I wanted to protect it as best I could. So I haven't gotten the electrical finished up on it, but this is it sitting down in there, and then there'll be a cover that goes on this valve box to protect it. Then you've got this hose that comes out, and this hose is a rubber hose. That is I got it at Home Depot. It's an appliance drain hose, which basically you would put on a dishwasher. Over here I've just got a pipe to support the aerator. It screws in. I've just got a 90-degree fitting right here. It screws in right here so that I can unscrew it. That's what that cross right there. It's just a handle so that I can grab this easily and I can use it to screw it in and out. And then the aerator is down in there. You can hear it bubbling. Now, here's how I made the aerator. Okay, so here's the cross that holds the arms that come out. And I've bored a hole in the center that just fits this pipe. There it goes. Okay, so it just fits it. I need to put a bevel on the pipe that actually goes through there. So the way I got this hole in here, I kind of cheated actually, because I have a mill, and so I used a boring head to get it exactly the right size. I drilled it out until I got it up to 13/16, because this is for 1/2-inch pipe, and it's 0.8 something of an inch. And so I guess what I would suggest is you drill it out as high as you can and then file it out to fit, if that's what you need to do. Or you could make it a little too big, but then you'll have trouble getting it attached on there. I need to put the arms on it. And this is them. I'm going to go ahead and glue them in place. So this has to be under 9.5 inches in order to get into the hole that I need it to go in. And so let's make sure it is now. So it's 8 5/8, and then I'm going to put caps on the ends. And I'm going to go ahead and put the caps on, and then we'll measure it one more time. Okay, so I've pressed caps on the ends of it. I didn't glue them in place because the little holes that I'm going to drill in here over time may clog up. And if they do, I'll be able to knock these caps off the ends. These are kind of a press fit on there, so they should stay in place. I mean, you have to beat them off with a hammer, so it shouldn't be any problem with just, less than 5 pounds of air pressure knocking them off of there. That way I can knock these off and I can clean this out later if I need to. I'm looking at 9 1/4. Should be okay. So now what I'm going to do is drill some little holes for the air to come out. Okay, so what size do I want these little holes to be? Well, to figure that out, here's my air pump, and so if I measure the hole, where the air comes out. It's measuring just under a 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna figure everything on a 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna drill 1/8 inch holes in here. And I think 1/8 of an inch is a good compromise between, I want the holes big enough that debris doesn't fill them up, but I also want them small enough that stuff won't float into there and stop this thing up. So I'm going to drill 1/8 of an inch holes. So if you do the math, which what you do is so you've got a 1/2 inch hole here, just Google a area of a circle calculator and you'll have to put in the radius. So rather than 1/2 inch, you're going to put 0.25 in there and it'll give you an area of 0.2 inches. If that's what's coming out of here, I want to have the same amount of area when you add up these holes. Now a 1/8 of an inch drill bit has a 0.012 of an inch area. I need 17 holes to equal that same amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round that up to 20 and I'm going to put 5 holes in each arm. And that gives me a little bit of extra, so as they maybe stop up a little bit, it should still flow just fine. Now I also, on the stem that comes down, I've got to drill holes in it so that it will feed these arms here. So what I'll do with that is I will drill a cross hole in that pipe that goes up and down, and that cross hole is going to be 5/16 of an inch. I'll need 4 of those, and that gives me the equivalent of this 1/2 inch hole right here. When you figure the area of a 5/16 hole and the area of a 1/2 inch hole, do the math on that and you'll find that 4 of those holes make up more area than this right here. Okay, so here's the holes drilled. They turned out pretty good. Got the 4 holes in my pipe. Need to clean off these little burrs because I don't want them to come loose and wind up plugging up my holes. Alright, so now I want to glue these together. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of surface area to glue to hold this in place. So what I've done is I took some, this is 1/2 inch PVC, and I've taken some 3/4 PVC and cut some little rings, and then I cut a notch in them. And so if you do that, you can then, with a little bit of effort, you can force them on the end like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these in place, one above, and then I'll put the cross on, and then I'll glue one below. And that just makes sure that it doesn't slip up or down. Put a little glue here, and then I'm going to try to pull it apart and slide it down a little bit. Okay, that should glue itself in place. It's very nice. We're going to put the cross in place. Alright, and that should secure that. I want to put some holes in the sides to allow for ventilation so that the pump doesn't get hot in the summertime. Alright, there we go. Gives us some nice holes. I actually got this on Amazon. I'll link it in the description in case you're interested, but it was quite a bit cheaper than Home Depot or Lowe's. So in order to keep bugs out, I'm going to put some hardware cloth in here. This is 1/8 inch hardware cloth, and it is the magic size. So if you use regular screen like you use for a window screen, it's so fine that over time you'll see that dust and all kinds of stuff will clog it up and it's not really going to work great. You really want to use something larger like a hardware cloth. Well, if you use something larger than 1/8 of an inch and you live in part of the country where you have dirt daubers can get into 1/4 inch, and they'll get in there and they'll build nests everywhere and cause problems. 1/8 of an inch will keep them out. So that's what we're going to use, is 1/8 inch hardware cloth. I'm going to sand around the edges of this. Then I'm going to lay the hardware cloth in place, put a little weight on it like that, and I'm going to put some epoxy around there to hold it in place. I'm just using cheap Harbor Freight quick epoxy. Alright, so that did a nice job. I think that's going to work good. Okay, so you can see how the holes and all that are in there. And then I actually had to add a weight. I just tied a weight to the bottom of it. It was probably 2 or 3 pounds, just enough because this pipe actually was floating in there, so it was kind of floating up to the side instead of staying right down the middle. I don't think you can see that, but it's actually right in the middle. It's bubbling really good. It's about a foot off the bottom. So on this valve box, I have taped some just aluminum to keep it from the dirt from coming in there when I fill it. And let me get this back filled and I'll come back to you. All right, so there it is. The dirt's put back and it's ready to go. Hope this was interesting to you. Thank you for watching.